Legislation in New Jersey deals with animal rights as well as consumer rights. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is New Jersey State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Thanks so much for being with us.
It's always good to be with you, Jill.
This is an issue that we've talked about in the past, but you're here with an update. It's an issue as it relates to the labeling of fur coats, fur trimmed coats. Give us an indication as to what was happening when it came to things that we were purchasing that weren't necessarily labeled as what they really were.
Exactly, and let me just say at the outset, if people want to wear fur coats, that's fine. I'm not anti-fur. If somebody has a mink coat and they want to wear it, wonderful if they want to buy it. People should know what they're buying. They should understand what they're buying and where it came from. And there's a little loophole in the law that says that any coat which costs the manufacturing of $150 or less to make the fur on it doesn't have to be labeled. Now that could still be a $300, $400, $500, $600 coat because you're just talking about the fur that's on it. And very often these are lesser expensive coats, usually imported, usually from China. Usually they're fun coats and people kind of just think that they are fake furs, but they're not labeled, so nobody knows. And what happened is the Humane Society of the United States actually did a study, they did a survey, they analyzed all these coats. Now these are coats that were not sold off a truck. These were coats from Nordstrom's, from JCPenney's, from Macy's, from good stores. And they actually analyzed and they found out that the coats were made from the fur collars or sleeves or whatever, domestic dog, raccoon dog, sometimes they were fox, some cat evidently. Just things that people would never expect. And in plain English, to just realize that there are people in the winter all around us who are wearing coats that would never possibly imagine that they're wearing a domestic dog fur collar on it is amazing.
The way in which these animals were treated was also a concern when you talk about a piece of legislation like this. Generally, fur coats manufactured in the United States, the animals are handled in a very different way than they would be, for example, in China. Was that also something that you considered in this legislation?
It was, and it's just something that makes the legislation that much more needed. And what we have seen is, and they actually have videos of this, and I'm glad that most folks do not get to see the video because it would upset them so much they wouldn't probably be right rest of the day. These animals, including the domestic dogs, they skin them alive. They do not anesthetize them. They don't even knock them on the head. They just skin them alive and they let them bleed to death. So you will see an animal there that's basically just muscle tissue, just suffering and bleeding to death for up to a half hour before it finally passes. That's no way to treat anything. I mean, that's not in a humane society. Again, people would never want to wear a coat if they knew that's how the animal was sacrificed. People don't want to wear a domestic dog, which is illegal anyhow. And it all goes to the point that it should be labeled. And that's what our bill does, Jill. It requires that every coat must be labeled where it came from and what it's made of. And you want to know if something's made of cotton and polyester, you want to know whether it's made of fox, you want to know whatever it is. Some folks are allergic to certain things. They don't want to necessarily wear it. I think it's a good consumer bill, and I think it's a good common sense bill, and it's a good bill for just to be humane and for humanity.
How difficult will something like this actually be to enforce? We're talking about one state. Things are imported all over the country, from all over the world. How can you ensure that what's coming into New Jersey for consumers here in this state will actually be properly labeled?
First of all, the good news is we're not the first state. So this is actually being done in New York, which is the fashion capital of the world, just passed in Delaware, which tends to be careful before they pass legislation, has existed for almost 5 years in Massachusetts. So there's states around our area that are doing this already. The manufacturers know how to deal with it. It's not the responsibility of the retailer. What it means in New Jersey when you're delivering a coat here, just as when you deliver it in Delaware, Massachusetts, New York, and a lot of these other states around us, that coat, if it's a $300 coat, it will say when you get that coat, and Jill, you're going to look to buy it, it will say it's a fake fur made of whatever, or it'll say that it's made from raccoon dog. And if you're allergic to that and don't want it, you don't have to buy it. Or if you just feel uncomfortable with the fact that it has that on it, you don't have to buy it. If you do want to buy it, then you go ahead. It's that simple.
All right, and it's waiting for the governor's signature at this point.
That's the good news. It passed. That's the big deal. It actually passed both committees, both houses. It took a little bit of time to do it, and I'm really proud to say it's going to be the law of the state of New Jersey.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We've been talking with New Jersey State Senator Jeff Van Drew. I'm Jill Horner.